Hello, it's John here from the Roots for Roots project. Why not join me on this lovely walk from Pinhoe on the edge of Exeter out into the countryside and out to Poltimore 3 miles away, with an optional 2 miles further to Broadclyst. We'll see history, we'll see heritage, we'll see nature, we may see archaeology and wildlife, who knows? Come on, join me now. Hello, here we are at the starting point for our walk in the centre of Pinhoe on Main Street, just opposite the Heart of Oak Inn. You'll see the amount of traffic rushing past behind me, and you might be surprised to learn that after we leave this road we won't have to walk on another main road on our 5-mile journey to Broadclyst. So come with me now and let's set off. We are going to leave the Heart of Oak and the busy street and head off down this direction. So going past Pinhoe Library, we're going to continue along the lane, and then we're going to take a turning that's just on the right. Here we are. This is where we go right up across Library Fields playing fields. Towards the top of that playing field we're going to bear past the children's play park and then turn right past America Hall. So here you see America Hall, a marvellous community hall that was gifted to the people of Pinhoe in 1952 by grateful American servicemen who had been billeted in this area during World War II in the preparations for D-Day. So we're going to go past America Hall up to the road here at the end and then turn left. So just opposite the junction with Chancel Lane, over there you see the public footpath sign, and that is our route. You'll see a new housing development taking place inside an old quarry now disused, and up there on the skyline, poking up amongst the trees, you can just make out the top of the tower of Pinhoe Church, which is where we're headed. So follow the path as it bends off to the right. Glorious day for it, don't you think? Starting to feel the pull as we go up this hill. It's quite steep, but remember, fitness is good for you. Follow that path winding up the hill. It takes a left-hand turn towards the church, winding along the quarry's edge. Here we are, arriving at St Michael and All Angels Church, not to be confused of course with the church of the same name, actually in the middle of the city of Exeter. Only a few minutes after leaving the busy road in the middle of Pinhoe, and we're at the parish church, and it's so gloriously quiet up here. And why on this walk do we come to so many parish churches, you might ask? Well, it's because those parish churches, regardless and aside from anything you might think about matters of religion and spiritual belief, they are quite literally the centres of communities, or at least they were historically, and they are the places where the passing of the lives of the inhabitants of those communities is quite literally measured in births, deaths and marriages. And they're often the oldest historical building surviving in the settlement, and the church here at Pinhoe is late 14th, early 15th century in date. And the house beyond the church that you see there in the centre, that's the old rectory, and that's 18th century in construction. Marvellous old places where you really get a feel for the past. And our route is going to take us through the churchyard, past the side of the church and round to the right. Through here and follow the footpath sign going to the left. As you follow the path uphill, do take pause to look back at the stunning views right across the city of Exeter to the west. Marvellous. Right, onwards and upwards, nearly at the top. past these marvellous old hedgerows on our right hand side and take the path to the left. Something marvellous about tramping these old lanes, I think. Squelching through the mud. I always just wonder how many other feet have done that in the past over centuries. What different kinds of shoes have walked this path. That's a good thing about walking, you have plenty of time to muse and wonder on these silly notions. Bravo, I say. So at the end of that lovely bit of track, we come out on a road, Chanygate Lane, which is an old holloway but now a metalled road, so watch out for traffic, although there isn't much. But we are going to turn to the right, just up yonder. The bridle way that we go past on our left, that leads back down in towards Exeter, comes out in Beacon Heath. But we're not going that way. We're going straight on to the road that runs along the ridge from Pinhoe. So watch out for traffic. The road we've come up, Chanygate Lane, forms a crossroads here. We're going straight on, not on a road, but the medieval equivalent, a hollow way called Dandy Lane. And we are going to descend down Dandy Lane, all the way down from this high hill towards Poltimore. Lovely. But first, let's pause to look at the view just over the gate on our left. The view from up here is amazing on this ridge that leads along from Pinhoe. We're looking down across the edge of the Clyst Valley there towards Killerton House and the hills on which Ashclist Forest lies. Somewhere along this ridge, though we don't quite know where, in the year 1001 a battle was fought between Vikings who had set up a camp at Exmouth and had failed in an attack on Exeter and were met by levied troops from Devon and Somerset on this ridge somewhere, and the Saxons were apparently defeated with great slaughter. It's not certain where the dead from that battle were buried, though some say they're in the churchyard at Pinhoe, which we've already passed. But moving on from that morbid thought, fascinating history of course, but morbid, let's descend via the hollow way. The reason that these hollow ways are so hollow is because on a hill slope in particular, between two hedge banks, a path gets eroded over time by the passage of feet and the running of water downhill, and so the path itself becomes deeper and deeper set between its hedge banks until it becomes almost tunnel-like. I always feel it's a bit of an adventure going down one of these hollow ways. You never know quite where you're going to end up. Often in the hedge banks on these hollow ways you find some stunning ancient and veteran trees. Look at this magnificent oak, all gnarled and festooned with ivy. Lovely. As you come down you get some marvellous opportunities for views. Look at that, absolutely cracking. Looking over the estate of Poltimore House there with the high wooded skyline of Ashclist Forest off in the distance towards the left of the shot. On down Dandy Lane then. Dandy Lane can be very muddy if there has been heavy rain, which there has been, although it's a lovely day today. It poured down for the last couple of days, so really is a very good reason why good boots, or even Wellingtons if you're that way inclined, are very handy when you come on this route. Walking with a stick is also good when there's mud because you can test how deep it is. tunnel-like hollow way section, and the track begins to level off and becomes a bit more open. We just keep following it straight on past the farm gates on either side, and the track becomes something almost resembling a road. Civilization, I hear you cry. Indeed. Pass by the cottages on the right hand side. Just follow this road along. Lovely and quiet out here today in the countryside. Along this stretch you'll see that there's some very fine trees standing in the middle of fields. These are not there by accident. This is part of a designed parkland landscape that was all part of the estate of Poltimore House, which is hidden behind those trees ahead of us. At the little road junction here, we are going to bear off to the left this way. Past these cottages, the road bends off to the right. At the little crossroads, we cross over with care, passing by on our right hand side the edge of what was formerly the full extent of the gardens of Poltimore House. I'll say more on that in a few moments. Walking along this road, you see that amazing huge wall on our right hand side? Well, this was the wall of the kitchen gardens that were quite far away from, but part of Poltimore House gardens. Nothing remains of those kitchen gardens now. Inside and behind this wall is in fact currently a pig farm, but amazingly high wall. And then the first glimpse of Poltimore Church through the gap ahead. And now we arrive right in the midst of the tiny village of Poltimore, and we are going to be turning right towards the village church. And here we are, Poltimore Church. Let's just pop in the churchyard for a little while. So, the tiny parish church of St Mary's, Poltimore. Lovely little miniature church. It's mostly late 15th century work, and I just want to go past the end of the church there off to the left, where there are some things that I want to show you and talk to you about Poltimore House. Having come past the end of the church, looking back in that direction, which is the direction we've come from, you can see a view over there across the former kitchen gardens for Poltimore House that we passed the wall of on the road. But what I want to do is take us into this corner over here. Beyond the churchyard, you'll see this amazing avenue of trees. They're lime trees, in fact, and there's no public access beyond the fence at the edge of the churchyard. But looking along that avenue, you might think it's rather grand. And you'd be right, because this is the private driveway from Poltimore House to the parish church, which is just behind us and we've just looked at. Poltimore House was a really significant Tudor mansion that was then very much enlarged and expanded in the 18th century and went through a series of uses. After it was no longer a family home of the Bampfylde family, it became a school and then a hospital, and eventually became disused and then suffered a bad fire in the 1980s, I believe. Anyway, the Poltimore Trust is working to preserve and restore it, and to restore a large part of the gardens. But we can't go along this avenue to view it. Instead, you would have to go by road. I'll show you where in just a moment. So, very fine view of the parish church there in the lovely autumn sun. So we're going to go back out past the right hand side of the church, back out to the road where we've got choices to make because we have several routes available. Back out to the road, and here we have several choices available to us. If you are not wanting to go on to Broadclyst but instead wish to retrace your steps by leaving the churchyard and turning back to the left where you've just recently come from, then following the route that we took here will take you back to Pinhoe, which is just 3 miles away. Going right out of the churchyard, if we were to go along the road in that direction, we could come to the entrance to Poltimore House. It's about 0.6 of a mile to go there and back again from here, and on certain days of the week there is a marvellous cafe at Poltimore House and the possibility to view the gardens, but you'll need to check their website. Look for the Poltimore Trust online. You'll need to check their website to find out which days that's available. Beyond the entrance to Poltimore House down that way, you could continue walking along the road until you get to the B road that runs from Pinhoe to Broadclyst, and then you could take a right hand turn and return to Pinhoe along the shared footway and cycle path. That's your shortest or quickest route back to Pinhoe, our starting point. If, however, you're feeling adventurous, we can go over the road here and up this dead end road and then onto a footpath which will lead us to Broadclyst, which is 2 miles away. In Broadclyst there are all kinds of delightful facilities awaiting you, such as public toilets or the Red Lion Inn or the village shop, or indeed a bus stop where you can catch a bus back to Pinhoe or Exeter, or in the other direction to Columpton. So come with me now and head towards Broadclyst. The only thing is, crossing to Broadclyst we have to go across the floodplains of the River Clyst, and if there has been heavy rain, as there was yesterday, sometimes the footpath is impassable. We're just going to have to go and have a look. Come on then.